Welcome back to Kenya News Alert, together with Channel 7 East Africa News, whereby we bring you political and biased discussions about the different political developments that we've been seeing in our country, especially to be specific, since 2022 general elections up to now, and what lies in our future as a country dealing with political developments. I am Emmanuel Bosire, and my analyst today is Arasa Makori from the other side of the studio. Arasa, are you with us today?
Yes, Emmanuel. I'm good.
You're jovial. Yeah, okay. So that's our analyst today, Arasa Makori. He has been helping us in analyzing different political developments in our country, what lies between the president and his running mate, that's Rigathi Gachagua, what's happening in the cabinet secretaries, the reshuffles, as we saw the other week, what's the development projects that the president took to Nyanza region, what are the developments in Sondu border, that's between Kericho County and Kisumu counties, and even today, the Turkana cultural show that's happening, that's today the president attending, and then tomorrow is when Raila Amolo Odinga will be attending. Now, the big question is today, why does the deputy president of a country, does Rigathi Gachagua, needs a handshake with the former president, Uhuru Kenyatta? To you, Arasa Makori. Why do you think that the president, the deputy president, you've seen him in the past, they were differing in political ideologies, but recently you've seen the deputy president saying that I'm going to make a handshake with my brother, the former president Uhuru Kenyatta. Is it political? Is it interests that have differed? Is it that Rigathi Gachagua needs a savior, and that's going to be Uhuru Kenyatta?
Yeah, thank you, Emmanuel. I think all of us needs a savior. And we've been made to believe that there is a savior in every form of Jesus. But while we're on earth, we need that human savior. And first, there's nothing wrong with Gachagua trying to get a savior. But looking from it, I mean, there's an old political adage that goes, nothing happens by accident in politics, and if it happens so, it was planned to happen so. This reconciliation between Gachagua and Uhuru, if at all something to go by, it is long overdue. It was supposed to happen at least 1 year past the election. I'm trying to look at this 2022 general election like example from the Mount Kenya region. Number one, if at all Gachagua is so desperate to a point that he needs Uhuru Kenyatta on his side, then this is Uhuru's hand in play. For those who understand gambling, there is something that those who gamble do called a double chance. And this is what Uhuru Kenyatta did to the Mount Kenya region, that the two horses, the two top contenders in the 2022 election must, it was not a matter of if, but must have a running mate from the mountain region. So we saw the Azimio side pick Martha Karua, and then some few months to the election, I saw Rigathi Gachagua on a certain local media saying that they were in agreement with William Ruto that the running mate will come from Mount Kenya, so it was non-negotiable. And then, because Mount Kenya is perceived to be the most populous region in the country in matters election, in 2022 we had a scenario where the region now does not have the president. It has the second in command. So what happens when there will be wrangles? This region has to balance their interest well in a way that when talks happen, because talks happens daily in the political spectrum, then from both sides we'll have representatives of Mount Kenya. And then when it comes to voting, they will still emerge victorious because now the numbers will favor them. But again, last time we were discussing on whether Raila can betray his friends. You saw what Raila did. He didn't pick anyone in the National Dialogue Committee from Mount Kenya. So that flopped. And we now saw something called the Kamwene faction of Azimio. So for Gachagua to go back to Uhuru, it seems things are not okay in the Kenya Kwanza political faction. And as the CS for Defense could have put it better if he was active in politics today, is that Kenya's political DNA is full of greed, betrayal, and deceit. What Gachagua is doing is proving that William Ruto is reading from the book of Uhuru Kenyatta on how to survive in power. It's nothing wrong. It's just something common because betrayal in politics is common. So sometimes they say that betrayal is a contagion that drives everyone to preemptive deception. So two things to pick. Gachagua is proving that there is a rift developing in Kenya Kwanza, and that Uhuru still calls the shots in Mount Kenya.
Now, there's our analyst Arasa Makori, who is diving in and giving us to why the possible reasons, giving us that Kenya's, our political game is full of greed, deceit, and betrayal. He's saying that President William Ruto is reading from the book of Uhuru Kenyatta about betrayal. We remember after the handshake how the relationship between Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto were. Now, at the moment, we're seeing that it's first term, and maybe before we move on to our discussion, Arasa Makori, we remember that the betrayal normally happens during the second term, whereby maybe your usefulness might not be seen to be more important. Is it a risk for the president to unlink himself with the deputy president Rigathi Gachagua as early as now, only 1 year after elections?
I think there's no risk for President Ruto because for him he has achieved whatever he wanted to achieve. He's now president. All he needs to do is to maintain the power. So there's no risk.
Now, he's telling us that there's no risk when President William Ruto will maybe betray Rigathi Gachagua as early as now, because first, he is a president. He has now become a president. One of the things he wanted to achieve in his ambitions and his dreams, as he says, that he had a dream that one day he'll become a president of our country. Rigathi Gachagua has helped him to become a president, maybe by giving him a voting block from Mount Kenya region, and now he has gotten the votes. That the respect to give back to Rigathi Gachagua is to tell him, maybe I don't need you anymore. Now, we've seen people and different groups and reactions from Mount Kenya region. Some saying that we'll stand and rally behind Rigathi Gachagua. He's our own. We perceive him to be our kingpin. Is it true that Rigathi Gachagua is the kingpin of Mount Kenya? And are the leaders from Mount Kenya really going to rally behind and prevent or protect Rigathi Gachagua from the betrayal that we were maybe anticipating, or we say that's happening in Kenya Kwanza government?
So you've just alluded that Gachagua helped Ruto to become president, and that is exactly what is dividing the Mount Kenya Kwanza faction. I saw just the other day the former Bahati MP Kimani Ngojiri saying that it is not Gachagua who took Mount Kenya to Ruto. It is Ruto who introduced Gachagua to Mount Kenya. most probably even you never knew Gachagua by 2010, but today is the deputy president. So it's a matter of who made the other whatever he is today. And as you earlier said, Ruto has the option of dumping Gachagua if he needs to, because he again has another option. We've seen him going soft on Raila, and then he's still quoting with goodies the Western region, which means if Ruto dumps Gachagua, he can come up with a formidable team like the one that we had in 2007, the Pentagon, in an arrangement where Musalia Mudavadi can be the deputy president, and then out of the talks in the National Development Committee that are happening in the Bomas of Kenya, then we can have a serious post of prime minister, who is the head of government in the legislative arm of government. And then Raila takes that position. So Raila is accommodated. You have Luo Nyanza, 96%. Western region, you have 75%. And then the Rift Valley, you have at least 90%. So how can that be defeated? That leaves Gachagua with one option. Go back to Uhuru and then use Uhuru to convince Kalonzo to come to the Mount Kenya side, so that they can form a team that can at least give this Pentagon a run for their money. But it's still somehow impossible for Mount Kenya now to recover from the effects.
You are really guiding us on this point, whereby you may be diving in. Now, our analyst Arasa Makori is diving in and giving the possibilities of the deputy president, of the President William Ruto, no longer needing Rigathi Gachagua, saying that people from Mount Kenya region are saying that it is William Ruto who sold or who took Rigathi Gachagua to Mount Kenya region, and not the opposite of what maybe majority of us think, that it's Rigathi Gachagua who brought a vote from Mount Kenya region. Recently, we saw Kimani talking, the former Bahati MP, saying the relationship that Rigathi has with the people of Mount Kenya region, and is trying to see on the possibilities of having the Pentagon, just like we had in 2007, whereby the President William Ruto would go for the presidency, whereby maybe Musalia Mudavadi will be his running mate, as our analysts and others are trying to analyze, in bringing about 75% of the votes from Western region. Rift Valley maybe giving at least 90%, and Raila Amolo Odinga supporting William Ruto would give maybe 96% from Nyanza region. And that one would be maybe a theory of 50 plus 1, 50% plus 1 votes, according to one of the theories that makes you to become a president. It is also explaining on the possibilities of now why Gachagua needs Uhuru much now that they will remain Mount Kenya alone, without the Rift Valley that they have been using together in politics, and without the Western now that will be covered by Musalia Mudavadi and maybe Wetangula, and the Nyanza region, which has been maybe independent for at times, will be now joining President Ruto and seeing them again winning and moving forward. You've seen, and former President Uhuru Kenyatta is saying now that from next month is going to do different Thanksgiving ceremonies in Mount Kenya region to thank the people of the mountain for having helped him to become a president for 10 years. What does this talk about? He has taken 1 year after the election to come to the people to tell them maybe Thanksgiving. And number two, are the Thanksgiving really necessary for President Uhuru Kenyatta, former President Uhuru Kenyatta, to come and say maybe thank you, a year down the line? Yeah.
First of all, those are unconfirmed news. Let me call them news, but rumors could amount to something. But if at all is going, I saw some headline on Taifa Leo just a day ago with a big Uhuru portrait, and then the headline was Niliwaonya. So if he's just going to Mount Kenya, there's nothing more than that message to go and tell his people, I told you, now you can see it for yourself. And then there's this the law number 25, the law loss of power, that talks about recreating yourself. In politics, people's alliances and stances can change. Like now, the Mount Kenya region can start dancing the tune of Uhuru Kenyatta. So if you want to reconnect with old friends who are now political enemies, because I believe by voting in William Ruto, the Mount Kenya people are Uhuru Kenyatta as political enemies. Now you consider inventing yourself in a way that aligns with their current beliefs or objectives. Their current beliefs and objectives that our coffee industry is going down. There's nothing more that has been done. Instead of giving us incentives that we've seen other people are receiving, like the sugar belt, we're not getting them. So Uhuru can go back to them and recreate himself. We've seen his allies like MATIANG'I doing some rallies, so you never know what is in the offing, but I'm not so sure whether he'll go, and if he does, then we expect I lack the adjective to call it, but it will be quite interesting for some of us.
Yeah, for sure, there are interesting political times ahead. One, we've seen former Mungiki leader MATIANG'I doing rallies all over Mount Kenya and maybe giving his political views. And there are rumors all over that starting next month, the former President Uhuru Kenyatta will also be doing the various Thanksgiving all over Mount Kenya region. As our analyst is putting it clear that according to law number 25 of the 48 laws of power, that you need again to recreate yourself with the people. Now that the people of Mount Kenya region voted in President William Ruto, by virtue making former President Uhuru Kenyatta to become an enemy, now who was supporting Azimio leader Raila Amolo Odinga and Martha Karua. Now, and now the political situations have changed, and for you maybe to be quite relevant, you need to recreate and maybe come in with the people. He's also talking about on the possibilities of the president doing those Thanksgiving rallies together with reminding them that I had warned you. I had warned you about the most preferred presidential candidate, maybe who would have helped us, and you decided to go the opposite way. Now, eat your own fruits that you planted during the 2022 elections. Now, this brings me to ask another question. The relationship between Raila Amolo Odinga and former President Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. As we speak, now that the people voted in President William Ruto, and we're seeing a possible handshake between Raila Odinga and William Ruto, what would be the relationship between the two? Is it that the handshake will include former President Uhuru Kenyatta? Are there possibilities like that, like those?
There's nothing like friendship in politics. So the relationship is not about me supporting you because you supported me at one point. There's this notion that the president was trying to drive in CI that, in 2007, I voted for your friend Raila Odinga. Now in 2027, it's time for him to do the same for me. So if at all, just imagining so that the president and the opposition leader are now in bed. So if at all Raila and Ruto are uniting, it's for mutual benefit. Such a way that Ruto must assist or help Raila with something, and then Raila must also help Ruto with something. So what is it that Ruto needs from Raila, if not to increase the number of votes in his basket? What else does Raila need from Ruto, if not to ascend to power in whatever form? So that's how I look at it, that either of the two must assist the other. But again, you see, some people try to look at this duo like Raila is more senior than Ruto, and for that reason, maybe he should be the president and then Ruto the deputy president. But Ruto has already served his 2 terms as deputy president and is now president. He cannot go down for Raila. So the best option left is for the two to come to an agreement that we should create a new position that is powerful, of course, recognized by law, for Raila to fit in, and in return, the people of Nyanza will vote for Ruto.
Very interesting times ahead indeed, as we expound more and more to understand what's going on. Rasa Makor is bringing us this point to understand that William Ruto is more senior than Raila Amolo Odinga according to political ranks, not maybe age. Now that William Ruto has become a deputy president for 10 years, altogether he has also become a president. Now, he's so superior to compared to former Prime Minister Raila Amolo Odinga. And now, as they come into an agreement, it's going to be a mutual benefit, whereby President William Ruto is going to benefit, and at the same time, former Prime Minister Raila Amolo Odinga is going to benefit. So when you have such agreements, now that it's impossible for President William Ruto to change and become the deputy president for Raila Odinga and Raila Odinga to become a president. So a way must be worked out to see that there's a seat that's going to be created that is being recognized by the law and our country through the constitution, so as to serve the interests of Raila Amolo Odinga with returns come 2027, that the people from Nyanza region are going to vote in President William Ruto for the second term. So that's according to analyst Rasa Makori, who is bringing this. Now, could it be that the talks that we've been seeing in Bomas about the bipartisan talks are meant to create this legal seat that will be recognized by the law, and whereby maybe Raila Amolo Odinga will be sitting in?
So this is how dialogue happens. Number one, if Rasa Makori is in conflict with Emmanuel Borsire, it is the two of us who talk to reach on a consensus. I cannot bring my brother or my wife to talk with your brother or your ally, because I'm the one who is affected and you're the one who is affected. So I have every reason to believe that the talks happened and were concluded a long time ago. What we just sing as the Bomas of Kenya is just a formality to give legal life to the process, because if you come up with the position of Prime Minister, for instance, you need to have a referendum for it to happen. If you bring that to the people, of course it will face legal hurdles like the BBI did, because it lacks public participation. So after we have agreed in the boardrooms that we need the position of Prime Minister, what we do, I need to pick Eugene Wamalwa, because Eugene Wamalwa is a potential Deputy Prime Minister in that formation. Tell him to go and fight for that. Then I pick Alonso, I pick and two other 3 people. And then the other side picks. Then they go to talks. But all these people have the instructions of their bosses that this must be the end.
So he's giving us what normally happens when you have a dialogue, like we have the dialogue at Bomas about the bipartisan talk, saying that the two main theme here is President William Ruto and Raila Amolo Odinga. Now, according to our analysts, is that the two have a consensus already. What's happening is only that it's a way for that consensus they have to be implemented. So maybe saying that after the bipartisan and for you to create this seat that will serve Raila Amolo Odinga, and it's through the referendum. And if there are possibilities of having a referendum, we'll be going to have it. Now, I'll be asking maybe my second last question. We've seen we are having a hard economic times. Kenyans are really going through hard times, making a meal, living below a dollar, others even lacking something to eat. And then we have high taxes, we have the influence of wars all over the world. And now, adding up to a referendum, do we really need a referendum at the moment, 1 year after elections, where the president has done maybe a little bit of his, a fraction of his manifesto? Do we need a referendum at the moment?
Despite the fact that the 2010 constitution is the most celebrated in this region, I am one of those few people who think that it has got many things that we need to review. And we can only review them using a referendum because our legislative arm of government has proved not strong enough to change the laws. And of course, there are some of those changes that need a referendum. So we need a referendum, however much costly it is, because that is the cost of democracy. And like dictatorship, where one person makes decision for the others, in a democracy, you need to make decisions, or the majority needs to make decisions for both the majority and the minority, and that can only be done through a referendum. We need to have a government, we need to have good laws, we need to have a good system of governance, and so we must incur cost. So I think the cost of living cannot be a reason why we should not have a good constitution in place. So personally, I think any time is the right time. Whether we borrow, whether we use money meant for other projects, I think it's right that we change the constitution once and for all, so that we move forward as a country with strong laws, a good constitution, a good system of governance and such.
He's saying that we need to have a referendum, and through the referendum we amend the constitution, citing that there are things that, in as much our constitution is maybe ranked to be one of the best in our region, it needs again to be reviewed in some articles and being maybe implemented to help us as a country, to help us as a people to be moving on. Now back to Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. Is it the media that's fighting Rigathi Gachagua? Because according to him, he's saying that him with the president, they're good friends. Him with the president, they have a good relationship that's going to unite our country. Is it the media that's fighting Rigathi Gachagua, as we saw happening between Uhuru Kenyatta and William Ruto, whereby the media played a very important role? And you see, a media is very, very, very it can build you, at the same time it can destroy you. Now, is it that the media only maybe destroying the relationship that Rigathi Gachagua has with the President William Ruto?
I don't believe the media can be used to fight political feuds in this country, however much we can debate on it. But again, we must acknowledge the role that the media played during the Uhuru and Ruto division. Of course, it started as a small issue, and then the media escalated to be a big thing. You see what happens? There are those people who are so close to Rigathi Gachagua that come sunshine, come rain, they will stand with Rigathi Gachagua. And of course, there are those William Ruto loyalists. So the moment that a rift is reported in the media, these lieutenants start taking sides, and then they attack each other. And in case there was no rift between the two, it now starts developing. But again, I heard the deputy president say that him and the president are conjoined at the hip, that they speak the same language. But again, we have the president saying that all regions should get equal development irrespective of how they voted. And then the deputy president is saying that two regions, Mount Kenya and Rift Valley, must be prioritized because they voted to the president to a man. So it becomes hard for us to believe that the two are speaking the same language unless one is not being honest. Then even in the 2017 rift between the president and the then deputy president, that's how it started. They started denying openly, but after some time we realized, Amanda, it's real. So I think, judging from how things are happening in the Kenya Kwanza regime, just 1 year after they won the election, I think things are not in the order that we thought they will be. Because how do you explain to us that the president is differing with his deputy openly, and then we see a cabinet secretary, the name of Musalia Mudavadi, being given big assignments? Like I saw the other day, Musalia was representing Kenya in the UNHCR. And where was the deputy president? He was in Nandi, So you cannot try to say that things are okay when we often see the actions being taken by the president, the words being said by the deputy president sends a certain message. So personally, I have all the reasons to believe that the two have differed, and it has nothing to do with the media. The media is just reporting facts the way they are.
He's telling us that media is neutral in political things, as we do here, and biased political discussions, saying that media only reports the things as they are in the ground, and the media is not fighting Rigathi Gachagua to his president and to our president William Ruto. Now, this has been our discussion whereby we're seeing about the possibilities towards why Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua needs to have a handshake with former President Uhuru Kenyatta, something that ought to have been done long time ago. Immediately after the elections is when maybe that handshake would have been to help Rigathi Gachagua. Interesting political times ahead of us. Our analyst is Arasa Makori, and thank you for joining us. I was your moderator, Emmanuel Bosire.